It's Turbo Advanced! Welcome to Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Revival. Revival is apt because Super Turbo had not seen a new revision in 7 years at this point. We had gone through Alpha 3, Third Strike, and the majority of the Street Fighter EX series. So now, it was time for Super Turbo again. Except it's on the Game Boy Advance, which raises an interesting issue. I'm just gonna go to the options menu to sort of confirm that. So, one thing I do want to point out, Gauge. Arcade, the Super Gauge acts like it does in Super Turbo. You lose the super gauge, it doesn't carry over between rounds. In Extra, not only does your super meter carry over between rounds, but you can whiff moves to build meter. Now, onto the button config itself. The Game Boy Advance is a 4-button device, but Street Fighter games are usually 6-button. What's the solution? Tap the button for a light attack, or tap it longer for a medium attack. This does kind of screw around with your muscle memory. But let's go into the arcade mode. Oh yeah. Look at that fire taken straight from a Yahoo guestbook website. So all the characters are here. It took a while to decide who to take for Super Turbo Revival, but really, I would rather play it safe. So you get to decide your speed up front. No option for it in the options menu, it has to be done here. So what this game does is it takes the Super Nintendo sprites and applies them to the Game Boy Advance. The Super Nintendo sprites from vanilla Super Street Fighter 2. This means for certain moves that characters got from Super Turbo, you may notice some inconsistency in sprite quality. Sadly, we can't show off Akuma here, but you would imagine that would be the biggest factor, considering Akuma was not in the original Super. I would like to point out the outstanding artwork in both the Versus screen and the Victory screens. Ideon definitely doing his homework. His last major project was, ironically enough, a project. Project Justice. It looks so dramatically different, and no doubt these particular pieces of art have endured over time. I will say, despite me talking about the odd way that Capcom chose to compromise putting a Street Fighter on a Game Boy Advance, sometimes the controls aren't too bad. The rotational inputs required for fireballs are not as strict. This can be your worst enemy if you're used to doing certain motions for a Dragon Punch. But overall, being able to pull off these moves when you're under duress in this game, pretty dang important.
Round 1, fight!
Another highlight of this port is the music. For Game Boy Advance, this isn't too bad, and Capcom usually treated the GBA well when it came to producing music. It's so nice to have your super carryover, because if that move actually connected, that would have been a good early start. Aw yeah, pulling off 2 supers in 1 round of Super Turbo. This is T-Hawk we're talking about, so I do have to take this with caution. He's always been a run killer for me. In any flavor of Street Fighter 2. So what makes a return here? The bonus stages! These were not in vanilla Super Turbo, and Super Turbo Revival fixes this. It's so much easier to do it with Ryu, just forward heavy punch all day. That's not the only bonus round that returns for Super Turbo Revival, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So interestingly enough, and I hope we get the chance to see it, we will, obviously, some of the characters don't have stages pulled straight from the arcade version. Some of them have unique and original stages. I don't want to say too much about those stages because I'm not sure who we're going to get in the arcade rotation, so I don't want to spoil the surprise. Also, getting electric shocked by Blanca blurs the entire stage, which is a really nice touch. Blanca's a little more tricky this time around because I've noticed the AI likes jumping a lot more. Even more than they did in the original ST. This is another good mix. Cammy Stage was converted well to Game Boy Advance. It's more colorful, the Aurora Borealis in the background is well animated. Good job, Capcom. I almost had a perfect. It feels refreshing to play a version of Super Turbo, and I'm not tearing my hair out at even regular arcade mode matches. Finally! I can play Super Turbo and have a chill time. Never mind. Never mind, spoke too soon. Even the sound effects, as crunched as they are, it's still a solid effort for Game Boy Advance. Usually the sound chip is the weaker part of the platform, Especially because this is an early GBA release. Alright. Had to do it to you, Cammy. Okay. So Ken is one of those original stages. They're fighting on the mean streets of San Francisco, and this, honestly, when you take a look at this, when you take a look at the excellent graffiti artwork, doesn't this seem like a Street Fighter 3 stage? It kinda has that feel to it. So, another stage that we're not going to get a chance to look at in this arcade run, sadly, is Chun-Li's stage. It is a completely different stage from her usual Street Fighter 2 destination. It's essentially the stage from Alpha 2, you know, with the bike marathon in the background. And the other one is Ryu's stage. It's essentially a night version of his Third Strike stage. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Pity we're not going to get to see them in-game, but take my word for it, it throws you off for like a minute. So the other bonus round returning is the barrel bonus minigame. This one is still kind of mixed, considering once in a while you get this barrel that doesn't quite break as easily. And it feels like it moves a little bit faster. Probably the best effort I've had so far. So 6 fights later, not 8, you're fighting the 4 kings. Round 1, fight! Balrog's stage kinda got a remix as well. Feels more like his Alpha 3 stage, personally. Balrog seems a little more manageable with this little jumping tick with the AI. He's not as ferocious with his knockout straights. I'm just going to continuously throw fireballs at him because that is the way. I will say, Shinku seems a bit odd. It seems like Ryu's hand extends far past the body, so you could just see the fireball fly off without all of its hits being registered. So be careful throwing that thing directly into the opponent's face, point blank. Oh, one more thing worth pointing out. This is actually a patched version of this game. In the original release, there was a bit of an issue with the victory quote, where they would be switched around to the characters representing their Japanese name. So, you're not necessarily big on Street Fighter 2. You see the Balrog quote, "Handsome fighters never lose." And you attach it to the character named Balrog. The problem is you're getting this data from the Japanese version, and the whole Balrog thing has a bit of a different identity to it. Ah, that was a bad time. So wing quotes are switched around in the American release. So the idea of Balrog talking about being handsome is hilarious in and of itself. Yeah. Vega was always a pain. I see this is no exception. But yeah, as you can see, the quote is corrected. This normally would have applied to Boxer in the original release. Another nice feature of this version is the retry option. You go right back into the fight with the same character. You forego the character select screen. Always a nice quality of life feature, especially for Street Fighter. So this is where the bouncing ball AI actually becomes a bit of a hindrance. Because now it applies to Vega. And Vega is already a menace on both air and land. I'm trying to meet him in the air. No! He's not supposed to jump! Sorry, Vega. I had to declaw you.
Round one, fight!
So, Sagat is Sagat. When you fought Sagat for long enough, he's usually easy to lead. And another great thing, I have my super ready for the next round. Once again, the best feature of Super Turbo Revival. It comes in real handy for starting out with an early lead. As usual, throw teching is here. You don't necessarily prevent the damage altogether, but you soften the blow a bit. This was a feature in Super Turbo. It's nice to see that it carried over here. This definitely feels like a system revision with a lot of the greatest hits involved. Alright, so that brings us to Bison. And he gets a brand new stage in some underground base. Bison is still Bison. A bunch of tricky moves at his disposal. And seeing as we have a jumping bean AI yet again, this means Bison is just as much of a nasty customer as he has always been. Bison has one of the most unique jumping arcs. Is he jumping, or is he actually doing a head stomp? You won't know until it's too late. I don't know if it's a good idea to hang on to my super. You see, I normally play Bison in Super Turbo, and I know that one of the cornerstones of Bison play is his weakness to Shotos. With one exception. His reversal super. Completely invincible to fireballs on startup. Which means I'm in a bit of a pickle.
Round 3, fight!
I'm gonna bait that double knee. Yeah, not the best time to do that. And yeah, Bison would have had the quotes from Boxer, which I believe is, "My fists have your blood on them," or something. I don't have it memorized. Which would have been a cool quote, even for Dictator to have. But it's sadly not the quote you apply to him. I'm gonna catch him. Yep, the second I get super and he doesn't have the bar, I'm tossing it out. Especially on knockdown. He's not going to be able to jump fast enough to evade it. He either has to block or get hit. Gotta make this harder on me, don't you, Bison? Alright, so that is Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Revival done. Ryu gets a unique ending in Super Turbo Revival. Usually it's him missing out on the ceremony, search for another fight, but this time he has motivation for doing so, realizing that his journey is not over and that a stronger opponent is right around the corner. If only we didn't lose to Vega at that point. We might have been able to see him. So that is Super Turbo Revival. I didn't have this game when I had a Game Boy Advance. I played it much later on. And I was kind of nervous about going here. Because seeing the control scheme made me think that this was going to be a bit rough. This was going to be a bit of a frustrating playthrough, but I am glad it is the exact opposite. For a Game Boy Advance, this game holds up pretty decently. In fact, Game Boy Advance had a lot of unique fighting games, so why don't we stick around the Game Boy Advance platform and see what we can find. Until then, that's it for Super Turbo Revival.